How you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the afternoon. Joining me today, it is Philadelphia's #1 hockey beat writer, Charlie O'Connor. What's going on today, Chuck?
Not too much. Just preparing for my my vacation. Last day before I go away for the summer.
Charlie is playing a little hooky over the next couple of weeks. No, he is. This is approved time off for Charlie. We'll allow it, I suppose. But we're gonna have some fun over the next couple of weeks. We're gonna have some fun today because we have a jam-packed show for you. Lot to get to. I think I say that every day. I might say jam-packed show every single day, but today we are not killing time. We actually have some things to talk about.
It's
I promise.
Jam-packed. You're not being incorrect in your evaluation.
I always think we don't have that much, and then it's 10 after, and I'm like, okay, yeah. I guess we had 70 minutes worth of content today. But we have a lot to get to, so hit the like button. Hit the like button. You want to do it. You love to hit the like button. It's your favorite thing in the world, and it's free. It's so easy to support us. All you got to do, hit that little thumbs up. But if you want to go the extra mile, if you think, you know what, I like to hit the like button, but I'd like to do a little bit more to support PHLY, well, now is a great time to become a diehard, because for only $36 for the year, you can become a diehard member. You get access to all of our all-star rosters, amazing written content, premium written content, access to the Discord, discount on merch and events. So many benefits of being a member of this community, and now it's only $36 for the year. Do it while before time runs out. This is a training camp deal, so I gotta believe it ends pretty soon. I don't have the details, but it's not gonna last forever. So make sure you sign up now. Get this deal. Yeah, $36 training camp special introductory rate for a full year of diehard membership. Do it. allphly.com. You won't regret it. All right. That is all the stuff we have to get out of the way before we lead off with a guest, Charlie. We have a guest today. It is our AHL and prospect correspondent, the one and only Maddie Campbell, also, fame of Broad Street hockey fame. But we're stealing her. She is ours today. Maddie, good to see you.
Good to see you guys too.
So one of those benefits of being a diehard, you can read all Maddie's articles, and her latest up on allphly.com right now is a summary of how Flyers prospects did at the World Junior Summer Showcase last week. Maddie, what were your overall impressions of the showcase and how the Flyers prospects looked there?
I would say overall very solid. I mean,
all right, I didn't.
Yeah, there looks like we're having some technical difficulties.
Looks like, yeah,
unfortunately,
yeah, that's a shame.
When we brought her on, I was originally like, "Uh-oh, I hope this isn't going to be a problem."
When we did the test, it was fine.
Yeah, it's weird.
And then, so we will see if we can get her back with a little bit better of a connection, Charlie, because she wrote an excellent article.
She did.
Breaking down all of the Flyers prospects. I wanted to get, especially her take on Jack Berglund. We all know your favorite prospect, but
Berglund absolutely stood out. Yeah, we'll do the classic internet idea of just unplug it and plug it back in, and hope it works. We'll give that a shot. Hopefully we will get to speak with Maddie, because she watched every single one of the games at the World Junior Summer Showcase, and it's August. there's nothing else going on, and that's why the World Junior Summer Showcase is interesting more than anything else, because it's the only important hockey thing that's on. And the Flyers had a lot of prospects. They could have had more prospects because Jett Luchanko was invited, and he's almost certainly going to make Team Canada if he's not in the NHL. And if the Flyers want him to stay with the team, obviously, then he won't go play for Team Canada. But he's essentially a lock for the team. He was on the team last year, played in a fourth line role. But he's still recovering from that minor groin injury that kept him off the ice at development camp. So Luchanko was not on the ice, but he would have been. So the Flyers had a lot of players, and they could have even had one more.
That's one of the things I wanted to ask. All right, and we have Maddie back with us.
All right, fingers crossed.
We will see. The connection looks better.
It does look better.
So we will try this again, Ms. Campbell. Overall impressions of Flyers prospects.
Sorry, guys, I had to disappear into the void for a second.
It happens. We all have to disappear sometimes.
I think they had a handful of guys who, you kind of expected were going to pop between the returnees, and Porter Martone was always going to look good in that group. But overall, I'd say very pleased with what we saw from the group as a whole.
Yeah, I think everything that obviously I didn't watch the games the way you did, but everything I was seeing on social media, it just seemed like every other tweet from one of the people at the tournament, or people watching the tournament like you, was something positive about a Flyers prospect. Martone, as you mentioned, he was expected to stand out. He didn't play in as many games though as some of the others. Can you talk about what the plan was for Martone and why he didn't get as much ice time, as much game time as some of the other guys?
Yeah. For Canada, it seemed like they wanted to get a little bit of a sort of new scouting report on their returning players, but they're guys that they've seen a ton, and they're we don't need to spend the whole week checking these guys out. So they got a couple of games in. Martone got 2 games, and then all of their returning players they sent home, and they get to enjoy their summer now, and they're spending some more time looking at more of the goal type players. So yeah, I would not follow Martone at this tournament. That was always the plan going into it.
Gotcha. But he looked good in his 2-game audition.
Yeah, he was really involved. I would say it was a little bit off for him. He was getting a chance and then sort of skipping past where he needed to be, and running out of room to operate. Regrouping well. It was a breakaway chance, an almost breakaway chance that he ran out of room, skated around the net, set up an actual goal from that. So very much the puck was around him. He was making good happen, even if he wasn't at his absolute best clicking wise. He still looked very good. And I think the second game things were starting to come to him a little bit more easily. He was even more noticeable, but yeah.
It seems like from what I was reading, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it seems like the Team Canada is potentially looking to pair him with Gavin McKenna in the main tournament. That's the speculation, that you could have McKenna on the left side and Martone on the right. Is that kind of what you've been hearing as well?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, they got a brief kind of look at it at this tournament and looked promising. Could be really fun. Now, it's still a lot of time between now and their main camp in December, so a lot can happen, and they can decide that they want to go a different way with how they're arranging their lines. But that looked really promising for them. And, we have seen things that they're playing around with in the summer showcase translate over into the main tournament. So at the very least, I wouldn't be surprised to see that again in some of their pre-tournament scrimmage type games.
Maddie, I want to shift gears to the Americans now, Jack Murtagh and Shane Van Sage. And I really appreciated the distinction you made between the two in your article. Yes, both drafted this year, but because of their different levels, maybe they just one looked a little more polished than the other. What did you think was the difference between Murtagh and Van Sage?
Yeah, I think they were trying to play similar type games. I mean, they spent a lot of the tournament on the same line. So easy for them to sort of blend together, but it definitely felt like with Van Sage having that full season playing against college competition. He just looked like he was better, feeling a little less defenders kind of on his back. And yeah, it just seemed like things were, going a little bit more smoothly for him. I still thought Bartek had a good showing. It just, you could tell that he's used to playing against, and when you get playing against guys who have played against like grown men pros abroad, you're going to exploit it a little bit. I'm not super worried about it. I think the first half of his college season is going to be really major in terms of him kind of getting up to speed, getting used to playing with some older, bigger bodies. So I'm really excited to see the jump he can make again when we get to that main camp in December.
Yeah, apparently the connection still isn't great, but I just want to get one more from you, Maddie, because Jack Berglund really stood out, and we all know Jack Berglund is Charlie's favorite prospect in the pool, and it seems like he dominated it at this tournament. What can you tell us about Berglund and his chances to make Sweden?
He looked fantastic. I mean, he was pretty much going to be a lock for that team, considering as he played last year, but it's looking like they're going to give him a really big role in this year's tournament. It seemed like last year they were giving him kind of a more defense forward shutdown role. Now they're letting him play a bit more offense, and it was going great for him. He was super involved with both like individual chances and also setting up his line mates, just across the board, super involved, and very excited for what he'll do there.
Yeah, I'm more than willing to be proven wrong about Jack Berglund. My view remains that I think I see him as having like a 3C upside at best. Yeah. But hey, 3Cs are valuable. And if he is a really good 3C, with his size and with his hands, and one thing that stood out to me in particular at development camp watching him was his hockey sense. If he can bring those to the table and be a play-driving third-line center, I'll take it. It's not a bad late second-round pick.
I will say, it seems like he's kind of gained a step, dare I say. So he's looking a little bit more mobile. It's still very much a work in progress, but I'll take any incremental improvement there for sure.
It's those skates.
The skates fit now. It's very obvious. Like, you can't skate with skates that don't fit. It's insane. Maddie, thank you for joining us. We will have you back to talk about the Finns. Maybe tomorrow. Who the hell knows? But thank you. Thank you for bearing with us through the connection issues. I know it's a pain in the ass when I'm making faces and doing stuff, but thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Maddie. All right. That is Maddie Campbell of Broad Street Hockey, and, of course, our AHL and prospect correspondent right here at All PHLY. You can read her work on our website. All you got to do, sign up to be a diehard. Super freaking easy. Go to allphly.com, sign up, $36 for the year. Really trying to push those subscriptions, and so we win again, because it's always like a training camp deal, a Phillies opening day deal. It's never a Flyers deal. It's never that.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. I mean, just like they don't need a draw. It's just like Charlie O'Connor. What the hell else do you need to know?
And Bill Matz. Yeah, you wrote your first article.
Do not give the people the expectation that I will ever write again, Charlie. It was fun. I did enjoy it. And then I remembered, like, oh, this does take forever. I know what Charlie's always stressed about. Like, this isn't just speaking. You have to, like, edit it. Oh, I don't like this. Yeah. Got to pay attention to what you're doing. All right. But that was Maddie Campbell on the World Junior Summer Showcase. Now we got to get to the big deal presented by Cherry Hill Kia. Visit Kia of cherryhill.com today. You know I love that Cherry Hill triplex. All right, Charlie, the big deal today is Briere's deals and the Flyers deals, because honestly, a lot of this can't really put on Danny because most of these contracts were inherited. But over at The Athletic, our old pal Dom, last name Charlie has to pronounce, our pal Dom at The Athletic ranked each team's contract situation by their spending efficiency, and the Flyers are near the bottom. He ranked them 26th out of 32.
Which they should be if they're one of the worst teams in the league. Like, one thing, if you look at this article, and it might shock you given the fact that we're in a salary cap league, but the teams at the top are real good, and the teams at the bottom did real bad last year, and that makes sense because if you're an efficiently spending team, you're probably going to win more games than the teams that aren't efficient spending teams. So it shouldn't shock anybody that the Flyers are near the bottom here.
No, it's like the top 4 are Tampa, Carolina, Colorado, Florida. That might also be like the 4 teams with the best Stanley Cup odds outside of like Edmonton, you know?
Yeah,
but the Flyers down at 26th. There's not being great, and then there's also the Flyers are spending as much as the Florida Panthers. And, you know, there's a little bit of a difference between these 2 rosters, I would say. But the article, it makes sense. It says, if you assume Carey Price is going on LTIR, there's only one team with a higher cap expenditure than the Flyers for next season, and it's the, you know, back-to-back Cup champs, the Florida Panthers. It's baffling that the rosters for the Panthers and Flyers cost roughly the same amount of money, which speaks to the importance of an exercise like this. Cap efficiency is one of the big gaps between champions and this. It says, for the Flyers, there is an issue with inefficient spending, especially in net. And that's really what it gets down to. Like, he mentions the Couturier contract, and it's like, listen, that's kind of out of their control. Couturier is what he is, and you just hope he can be a positive contributor, even if it's not positive, you know, in comparison to dollar for dollar. It's at least he's giving you something.
Yeah, it's not a surplus value.
You really look at the what they're spending on the goaltenders between Fedotov and Vladar, and that's inefficient if you just look at it from that perspective.
Yeah, and I told you yesterday, I mentioned this, that like with Vladar, and I specifically said people like Dom and people like Travis Yost, if you break down Vladar's stats, he is not a good goalie. He grades out as a below average NHL goalie. Had 2 seasons where he was about NHL average, and then had 2 seasons where he was well below NHL average. That, on average, grades him out to be a below average NHL goalie. That said, there is belief in the goalie world that Vladar has more to give. And this sees him as a really bad contract. The Flyers are betting that Kim Dillabaugh will improve Dan Vladar. Now, again, they might be wrong, but that's the bet. The Fedotov deal is just a bad deal. Like, that was a bad deal.
The minute they signed it.
The minute it was signed, you're thinking like, and I wasn't going to pin those final few games at the end of 2 seasons ago on him when he came over, because like, he didn't even have the right pads. The guy was just finishing up a season in Russia. He was coming over a new country. I get it. He's going to struggle. It was less that he was bad in those games, and it was more that he hadn't proven anything. Like, to me, he was a guy who was, you know, ripe for a, you know, 1 mil, 1.5 mil deal in terms of what he'd actually proven. The problem was the Flyers more or less were told by his camp, we won't come over unless we're getting paid what we were getting paid essentially in Russia. So it was pay him this or don't get him at all. And they chose to pay him this, which I can understand why they did it. It just now seems like a really dumb move because he doesn't really look like an NHL caliber goalie.
Yeah, and that's just kind of price of doing business when you're not even, you know, really playoff contender at that point. Like, all right, we'll pay a little extra and see what this guy has. And if it works out, it works out. Like, maybe we get him on the next contract if he proves he is an NHL goalie. Maybe we get him at like the same price, and then it is efficient. But as it turns out, he was terrible. Maybe he has a better sophomore season. I'm just like, I've written Ivan Fedotov off as a piece in this organization outside of an AHL goalie, perhaps. But you also look at Vladar, like you said, and it's they overpaid to make sure they got their guy, and they didn't want to get into the trade market where they have to maybe give a guy a contract after surrendering assets for him, things like that. So there are explanations for the inefficient spending. I
think there's 2 types of deals here. Sorry, were you gonna go to flip Tyler?
I just had one more. Tyler, can you bring up the defense and goalie spending again? Because I wanted to see. Okay, so he doesn't actually have. I saw someone in the comments mention Ryan Ellis, and I wanted to see if he actually factored into this equation, but it doesn't look like he does. So that's
no. There's a thing down at the bottom where he talks about dead money, and there's $6.8 million with the dead money. I imagine most of that is the Ryan Ellis contract, because obviously Ryan Ellis can't play anymore. It's interesting though, like for a lot of teams, the dead money is on LTIR, whereas the Flyers, because they don't want to use LTIR, like Ryan Ellis is on their roster. He's probably going to stay on their roster until they decide they want to deal with LTIR, even though he's going to provide zero value because he's not going to play. The Flyers could tap an LTIR and use the allowance if they really wanted to, but they don't. I think the thing that's interesting to me about this, and we can get into this a little bit more after the break, but I think there's two types of contracts on this list. There are, in terms of the bad contracts, there's the bad contracts that aren't that big of a deal and are only on the books because the Flyers are not trying to compete. Perfect example being Christian Dvorak. The Christian Dvorak contract is a $3 million overpay per Dom's model. But he signed to a 1-year deal, and the only reason why the Flyers signed that contract is because they're not trying to compete. They're just looking for a stopgap. They were trying to fill a hole, and that being an inefficient contract is really no big deal for the future. But then you look at a contract like Owen Tippett, and you're like, ooh, they bet on this guy, and then last year he underperformed his contract. That's a concern because there's 7 more years left on the deal. But we could talk a little bit more about that after the break.
Yeah, let us get to now our first commercial break. Got to lead it off with our friends at Cherry Hill Kia, because if you're looking for the dealership with the most inventory and super low lease payments in the Philadelphia area, Kia of Cherry Hill and KiaofCherryHill.com is the place to go. You can choose from over 450 new Kias, including Telluride, Sportages, K5s, Carnivals, Seltos, and Souls. And I've got to tell you, Kia is the hottest automotive brand in the country for a reason. 7 of their models received 2025 Car and Driver Editor's Choice Awards. That's amazing, considering there were more than 450 models tested and only 20 models industry-wide received this award. 7 out of 20. All Kias, not too shabby. Combine that with the best warranty in the automotive business, 10 years, 100,000-mile powertrain, and 5 years, 60,000-mile bumper-to-bumper. And there's no other place you should go than Kia of Cherry Hill. So stop in today, tell them PHLY sent you, and receive a $100 Restaurant.com gift card just for taking a test drive or completing a trade appraisal. Appraisal. I know people buy Kias elsewhere. I just don't know why. Drive home in your new Kia today, just minutes from all bridges, or available online 24/7 at KiaofCherryHill.com. And now you know what time it is. 1-800-588-2300 Empire.
Today.
Listen, we know what the big box store experience is, and because we know what it is, we know that there's no choice but to go with Empire when it comes to your new flooring, because Empire today has flooring experts. They've got experts who will be with you the entire step of the way as you're getting your new flooring installed, from picking everything to the final touches put on the project. That's why you got to go with Empire today, because they live and breathe flooring, and they can do something no big box store can do. It's bring the showroom right to your home so you can pick the right flooring and the right colors for your space in your space and see how it all looks with your furniture in your house up against your paint and all of that. Plus, they'll take the precise measurements for you and have all your questions answered, so there are never any surprises. And what's the biggest surprise? It's when your estimate goes way over. Well, with Empire today, that's not a concern, because you get clear upfront and all-inclusive pricing. Plus, you can schedule installation as soon as the next day, because nobody likes to wait. So schedule a free in-home estimate today, because some things are just better at home. And PHLY listeners, listen up, because you can receive a $350 discount when using promo code PHLY. You heard that right, $350 off with discount code PHLY. Restrictions apply. Visit empiretoday.com/PHLY for full details. Yeah, there's the Flyers have a lot of, it doesn't really matter contracts. And for this exercise, it's like, well, it all matters. We are judging it. We are judging it on a this year, what your cap situation and what your efficiency is standpoint. And so that obviously knocks the Flyers down a little bit. But the one thing he points out is they just don't have a ton of major wins.
Yeah, that's the big concern for me more than anything else.
Like he points to Tyson Forster's contract, and it's like, and it's a bridge. You know, it's not as if they have Forster locked up for 5 years and they know he's going to be a 25 goal scorer minimum at this price. It's no, this is some RFA years. They didn't really get themselves ahead of the game by locking him up. Now, of course, like say on July 1st, 2026, they get I guess they can still sign him to an 8-year deal at that point, whatever it is, 7 or 8-year deal for Matvei Mishkov, and it's well below what we would expect market value to be for a budding superstar. Suddenly that rockets them up the rankings.
Sure.
But that is, as of now, hypothetical.
Right, exactly. And that to me is the bigger concern than the total surplus being negative right now, the average positive value being 44% in his model. Because I look at guys like, Christian Dvorak. Okay, it's an overpay, it's 1 year, it's a stopgap. We all know what the point of that deal is. Trevor Zegras right now is an overpay, but you bought low on him because you want to try to rehabilitate his value. If you're right, it's a steal, and suddenly it becomes he potentially is a surplus value contract to the next contract you sign him, or you say goodbye, it didn't work out, we're not going to qualify you, go find a new place somewhere else at a much lower price. So those contracts, and even Delorier, it's a negative value contract, but he's there to fill a role in terms of he's the tough guy that makes the kids feel better. My hope is that 4 years down the road, if the Flyers are competing for a cup, they won't have a Nick Delorier on that team anymore. They'll have guys like Shane Van Saki, who can fight and be tough and be physical and also pot 15 goals a year. That's kind of what I'm envisioning for the future. So those ones you're iffy on, but I'm also okay, at some point they're going to need to get surplus value.
Yeah.
They're going to need to take bets on guys, and the bets are going to need to pan out. Thus far, they didn't choose to bet on Tyson Forster. They didn't work out a long-term deal for him. They did choose to bet on Owen Tippett, and thus far, that long-term deal isn't looking great. The Travis Konechny deal, I think it looks better now than it did this time last year, but they have a little bit of a negative value. I think it's probably about market value, but it's a concern based on what he might be at the end of the deal, and that was always the concern. And Tippett and Konechny right now are the two guys that Briere, not Couturier, who is locked Fletcher. Up by Chuck Fletcher. This is a contract that Briere inherited. Briere signed Konechny and Briere signed Tippett. And the fact that neither of those contracts, at least so far, are looking like huge, massive wins, you do wonder a little bit, is this going to be a potential weakness for Briere? Is Briere going to be good at winning the long-term contract surplus value thing? Maybe he can, but thus far, he hasn't thrived at it to this point. Doesn't mean he can in the future. Doesn't mean that he can't do a great job getting Mishkov locked up, or the next round of guys whose contracts expire, the guys on ELCs. He can't win the Martone negotiation whenever it happens after he's done with his ELC. It's just that so far, he hasn't gotten that big win on a long-term deal yet, whether because he didn't negotiate the long-term deal and instead went bridge, or he picked a guy to go long-term with, and that guy hasn't yet overperformed the deal for the team.
Yeah, that's really it's a hope that he can find some of those contracts down the line.
Yes.
It's not to say he hasn't yet. There's reasons we've laid out for the contracts he's signed, why they may be inefficient, but a lot of the stuff, the bigger deals, Couturier, Ryan Ellis, if we want to throw that in there, Rasmus Ristolainen, those aren't him.
Yeah.
So maybe as you shed some of those, or at least one or two of them, you're okay, and then if you replace that with something that is surplus value, suddenly you are looking a little more efficient and you are getting a little bit more bang for your buck. I just thought this was interesting to talk about.
It is.
Because it is one of the, I don't know if concerns, but one of the first things that, okay, what are some of the maybe perceived weaknesses of Danny Briere? I'm I don't know, is the best contract he signed the Nick Seeler one? And last year, Nick Seeler wasn't as good as the year prior. He was still fine. He was still Nick Seeler. It just wasn't quite as impactful. We liked that deal. It was a little long, I think. But has he really hit a home run with a contract yet? It doesn't feel like he has.
It doesn't feel like
Sanheim wasn't him, right?
No,
was
that
Fletcher.
was Fletcher. Remember, because he signed him after everybody knew they had to rebuild, and then he goes to sign Sanheim to this massive deal, and you're just like, Chuck, it's over. Go home. You gotta rebuild.
We brought in Tortorella to evaluate who has and doesn't have it, and then before he coached a game, signed a guy to an 8-year deal. Listen, that contract, I think it's like the Konechny one where you just look at it and go, good.
Yeah.
But it's not like, oh my God, we crushed that. Well, like, it's not that old Wayne Simmons contract, you know?
No, or the Couturier contract.
Yeah, or the Coots contract.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You look at those and go like, oh, we're getting top 6 value out of guys for like under $4 million. Oh, okay. Like it's not that. It's just like, good. Yeah, Konechny, Sanheim, these are fine. But they need a win. They need an actual W.
And I would say like 2 deals that grade out well on this sheet are deals that Ron Hextall, or not Ron Hextall, that Danny Briere signed this summer. You have the Noah Cates deal, and you have the Cam York deal. They are wins. Dom's model values them out as surplus value deals, likely to be surplus value deals, but they're not big wins. Like they see the Cam York deal as giving $2.6 million worth of surplus value over 5 years. That's, a little over 0.5 mil a year. That's not bad. Like that's positive value.
It's better than negative.
You want that deal on your team, but it's not a holy crap, this is a massive bargain. Same with Noah Cates. Again, about 0.5 million of surplus value. Good deal. Good job on Danny signing it, but it's not the kind of deal that wins you cups. And I think that's what we're talking about, where it's not that he's made terrible signings. It's that if you're going to win cups in a cap league, you have to get mass surplus value. And unless you are just bringing in a flood of guys on their entry-level contracts that are immediately $8-9 million a year players that are getting paid $900,000, you have to do it by signing them to deals that pay them less than what they're worth. And you do that by making intelligent bets on guys. And so far, Briere has made some solid bets, but nothing that is on the level of a home run.
And also, like, I don't think it's a coincidence. Like, Colorado and Tampa Bay and Florida, like Carolina, teams that put up 100 points a year and are always in the playoffs. They've made some good bets. And also, when they do go into the free agent market, players are willing to trade some winning for some money. Like, they are willing to not go for every dollar or every year because they're willing to trade that off. Whereas in the Flyers situation, man, we needed Christian Dvorak, so we went and signed him and overpaid, and that's just the way it is because we stink. Like, that's the situation they're in right now as a franchise.
And that's true, to be sure. That said, like, going back to Tampa, who is number 1 on this list, their highest positive value contract on their books is Brandon Hegle. Brandon Hegle is valued by the model at $12.6 million a year in terms of his quality, and he signed to a $6.5 million cap hit. That said, when he signed that deal, there were a lot of critics of the deal who were like, this guy is a good player, but man, you're locking him up to that long of a deal and you're giving him a $6.5 million cap hit. Like, that's a real risk. And then he overperformed the deal. And now it looks like one of the best deals in hockey. Those are the kinds of bets you have to make, and you have to be right on them. Like the Hegle deal, there's a world where that goes real bad, where Hegle just he's a, 40, 45 point a year guy who, he has good underlying numbers, but you signed him for nearly a decade. Like, hey, that's a risk. And instead, because they identified the guy who was the right guy, who was going to get better under their system and was going to be able to sustain it, now they look like they have one of the best contracts in hockey. That is what Ron Hextall did with guys like Wayne Simmons. And did he sign the Simmons deal? Was that Holmgren? I believe Hextall definitely signed the Couturier deal. Was it Holmgren who signed the Simmons deal?
I want to say it was Holmgren, but I feel like they happened at the same time.
Perhaps.
So I'm not.
But in any case, those were deals where they bet on guys getting better, and they both got better. The Flyers are going to have to make bets like that, and they're going to have to get them right if they want to get to the level of Tampa, of Florida, of Carolina.
I think Cam York is an opportunity.
It is.
It's long term. We will see how it works out. Everyone knows I'm not like crazy Cam York fan, but I acknowledge there's a world in which it's like, oh yeah, he's an $8 million defenseman and we have him 5. Like, that could happen. I think their next opportunities outside of Mishkov, because yeah, man, just sign him. Hopefully it's team friendly, but you have to have your star. It'll be maybe Forster's next deal, and maybe if Zegras does live up to his potential, you're able to be like, oh yeah, we're hometown discount. We did rehab you, like things like that. I think those are opportunities.
I mean, another potential opportunity there. And again, this depends on how he does this year.
Yeah,
Jamie Drysdale. I mean,
Drysdale's there as well. Yes,
Drysdale. Let's say Drysdale takes another step next year, where maybe he's a 40, 45 point guy, and then you sign him to a deal that pays him like a 40, 45 point guy. And then the next year he explodes and becomes a 60, 65 point guy. Then suddenly you've got a top 4 defenseman who scores a ton of points on a reasonable deal. Like he could be, but again, he has to take the step. That was the thing with Tippett. They bet on Tippett taking the step. He could still take the step.
Sure,
there's a world where that could become a really good contract. It was just last year it didn't.
Yeah, it's a possibility that Owen Tippett rebounds to at least what he was, or becomes what we think he might still have in him. But as of this moment, you look at the deal and go, oh, not a win. But it's not as if it can't still be. It's just maybe the odds are a little against it after a bad year at the age he had it.
Yeah,
but if you listen to him talk, he had a very good year. So I don't know. Maybe Dom's model's wrong and he's right. Who's to say? I'm never gonna get fully over it, Charlie. He has to now. When he scores 2 goals on opening night, he will wipe the slate clean. I'm going into the season with a clean slate for Cam York. Like, you know what? We're gonna be together a little while. I don't think I should be negatively predisposed to you now. Perhaps you can win me over this season if I start in neutral rather than like -2. Maybe we can see that happen. But
we gotta have an intervention for Bill on Tippett before the end of the summer.
It's because I liked him so much. Like, that's the problem. It's because I believed in him, and then he had that season he had, and then was like, oh yeah, it was fine. I was all right. Like that just it infuriated me, Charlie. All right. I think that's pretty much it on the contract stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
So let's do our break early, and then we'll talk about some preseason expectations, because I'm all eagled up. So I'm going to talk some preseason, but we're going to do hockey instead. I got to tell you about one of our newest partners here. It's Dudat Dental. Listen, your smile, it says a lot. So let us introduce you to the team that helps you say exactly what you want with your smile. Meet the Dudat Dental Group. This is the team trusted to care for one of our city's greatest assets, the Philadelphia Eagles. They are now entering their 5th season as the official dentist of the Philadelphia Eagles, and Dr. D and his team have proudly served Philadelphia and its fans for over 20 years. They do it all, from robotic implant surgery and Invisalign to veneers, emergencies, and so much more. They're locally owned and operated. Dr. D is a proud graduate of North Penn High and Temple University School of Dentistry, and his commitment to the health and confidence of our community runs deep. So whether you're an MVP or just a lifelong fan like me, this is the team you want caring for your smile. Check them out at PhiladelphiaEaglesDentist.com and discover how you can smile like the birds. And now we have another new partner to tell you about. It's our friends at Cash App. That's right, Cash App. We all know there's a never-ending list, it seems, of money-sharing apps, and you're never sure which ones are great, which one's like, oh, is this something I can really trust? And that's why you got to follow me and go with Cash App, because Cash App does more than you think when it comes to having your back and making sure your money stays your money. If you direct deposit at least $300 in paychecks each month and use the Cash App card for purchases, you can unlock up to $200 in free overdraft coverage. If you overdraft unexpectedly, there are no hidden fees, and you can manage your money on your terms and take advantage of the free overdraft coverage up to $200 on Cash App today. And for a limited time only, new Cash App customers can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash. For real. additional cash. Just download the Cash app, use our exclusive referral code CASH-PHLY, that's CASH-PHLY, in your profile. Send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you'll get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's partners, prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC, direct deposit, roundups, overdraft coverage, and discounts provided by Cash App, a Blonde Cake brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. All right, Charlie. So the Eagles preseason is kicking off tonight. So I thought it'd be fun to look ahead to the Flyers preseason and what certain players can do to make the team at least improve their standing in the organization. There's only so many roster spots. Not everyone can make it. But there are some guys looking to, if not make the team, at least move up a little bit from their current standing. First, I want to just remember last year's preseason a little because, man, I can't remember a more up to expectations preseason than Mishkov last year. Like overtime winners and just trying fun stuff, already looking like he belonged. He was advertised as awesome, and he was last year. I can't remember a more fun preseason than we had last season.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring that up, of a more up to expectations preseason than the one Mishkov had last year, because it's kind of tough. You think back, like, okay, I remember, Luchanko made the team, but didn't score. He was impressive, but he didn't score. So there's that. Thinking back, like Nolan Patrick kind of made the team because they decided he was making the team. He wasn't that good in preseason.
They traded Braden Shen. They were like, oh, he's making the team.
Yeah, he's the number 2 overall pick. He's making the team. He's physically ready. Tyson Forrester didn't really do all that much of preseason. He was fine, but he made the team because he was real good the previous year when he got his audition. Bobby Brink was exceeding expectations preseason, but that was more of like, you didn't go in there thinking he was going to kill it. He just exceeded expectations. I'm thinking like maybe the last time that guys came into camp with very high expectations and they met them would have maybe been 2016 when Provorov and Konechny both made the team out of camp. Like they were the 2 first-round picks from the year prior.
Yes.
We kind of knew that neither was going to make the team that first year and neither banged the door down. Then the following year, you're like, okay, Provorov is probably making this team. Konechny needs to have a great camp to make the team. And then they both had great camps and both made a team. And then by like November, Provorov was the number 1 defenseman on the team. So that may be the last time that like guys showed up at camp with extremely high expectations and met them. Like even Farabee, if I remember correctly, he didn't make the team out of camp, spent like 3 games in the minors and then got called up.
Yeah, they're like, all right, this is okay.
This is dumb. He's real good.
You proved your point. Like, you didn't bang the door down, but like, all right, now you have.
So it had been a while. Like Mishkov definitely, he was basically guaranteed a spot, but then he very much earned a spot in addition to the guarantee.
Yeah.
I would say, like before that, maybe Provorov and Konechny were the last guys that met high expectations to that degree.
Yeah, I'm trying to think when I first started, it was a Flyers Caps rookie game, and it was the 2011-12 season, because it's Coots, it's Shen, and I remember Matt Reed really stood out in that rookie game, and Coots and Shen were good too, and like all those guys, that was like they kind of built the team where they had to make it, but they were really good, at least in that rookie game. But I don't remember camp at all. I assume it went well because Sean Couturier was like matched with Evgeny Malkin on opening night, so I guess he had a good one. But that is now like 13 years ago, 14 years ago, so it has been a little while. Luchanko made it, but it seemed kind of more like, well, 1, the coach just doesn't like Sean Couturier, and 2, it was more, he just needs more of a look. The preseason wasn't long enough. Yeah, if there were 3 more preseason games, maybe he doesn't make it. We just wanted to see, all right, he's hanging. Can he do more than hang? And it was, all right, after 4 games, we've seen enough. He was worth a look. But now we are into a little more than a month and a half, probably about a month and a half away from the first preseason game. I think it's the 21st against the Islanders, 21st of September. So I'm going to talk about some of these guys. We got to lead it off with Jett Luchanko. Made the team, at least got his little tryout Didn't last the 9 games. It was 4. He got scratched a couple times. Ultimately was sent back to Guelph. What does he have to do to make this team, in your estimation, Charlie? Does he have to hang, or does he have to be a difference maker?
I suspect that what he has to do is do what he did at last camp, which is look physically ready, dominate in drills, be as fast as he was last year, if not a little bit faster, because he's maybe a little more physically developed. He has to show the hockey IQ, show the work ethic, and then he has to score. I don't think he has to blow the doors up. I don't think he has to be 6 points in 3 games or something like that. But last year at camp, he was good at everything else. He just didn't score. If he goes, 2 goals and an assist in 4 games, I think he likely makes this team as long as he continues to check all the boxes he checked last year. If he does a repeat of last year where he's good, but the offense isn't there, I suspect he would get sent back. So I think the offense this time, because he's not necessarily going to have a coach pounding the table saying, I need this guy because my centers are terrible.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have to actually produce offense to make the team out of camp.
And they do just have at least more perceived depth at the position.
Yes.
Like Sean Couturier just won. I assume Rick Tocchet doesn't dislike him. And he had a better year than the year previously. Like, I have more confidence in Sean Couturier right now than I did 12 months ago. That makes sense. They brought in Trevor Zegras. They brought in Dvorak. Noah Cates had a bounce back year at center. Like, we just have more depth at the position, so it's not the perceived need immediately. Like, yes, they obviously need centers for the future.
Sure.
But at this very moment, it's not the need it was a year ago. So I think he has to maybe do a little more than he did last year, as you said. Like, it's going to be, we don't want to send you back to Guelph. It would be great if you could play in the AHL, but
you can't.
If you're not ready, you're not ready,
Yeah.
and it'll just come down to how he looks in camp. I think it's pretty straightforward with Luchanko. We all know what we're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Bump. I think Alex Bump has the best chance of anyone on this list to make this team.
I agree.
We have talked, like, you don't see it as a Tyson Forster situation where it was, he's making the team. Because that was based on like a 7 or 10 game tryout or whatever he got the previous year. And the coach was just like kind of penciling him in, and he didn't have a great camp, but he wanted him, so he got him. Bump probably has to look like a top 9 NHL forward. But to this point, like you've said, all he has to do is kind of keep doing what he's doing, and he will look that way.
Yeah, my view is that if he's the guy who showed up to development camp, he's making this team. Now, that's not a guarantee. Sometimes guys perform better in development camp than they do in main camp because the competition is lower. And Bump does have major college experience, which gives him an edge over a lot of the guys who were at development camp, even guys like Porter Martone, who will have major college experience after this year, but right now do not. He would have to look less impressive than he did. And that is possible. I'm just expecting him to look very impressive. Like we had a super chatter a couple of days ago, basically saying like, well, he wasn't that impressive against Hershey. And that's fair. If he's the guy in camp who struggled to make an impact against Hershey, then he won't make the team. I'm just expecting him to be better because I'm expecting that he's had a big summer. I'm expecting that he is taking what he learned at development camp. I'm expecting that he's taking what he learned in the series against Hershey. The whole reason why he wanted to go to the AHL was so he could learn what he had to work on to be better suited to make the team in September at NHL training camp. I suspect he learned a lot from what he did in those playoff games, in those late regular season games in the AHL. And I'm expecting him to show up to camp and kill it. Now, if he doesn't, he won't make the team. If he doesn't, he'll go back to the AHL, and no big deal. He could use some more time in the AHL. It can't hurt him. It's not like he's had a ton of time at the pro game, even at the AHL level yet. But I'm expecting him to have a really good camp, and that's why I think he's going to make the team. Not because he's going to be gifted a spot, but there's a spot there. I mean, especially given the fact that Shabanov did not sign. There's very clearly a spot available in the top 9, and I think Bump is going to play well enough in camp and preseason to take it.
All right, the rest of these guys are we'll see's kind of on the list, Charlie. So I want to give you your pick. Who do you think is the most interesting to talk about next from everyone here listed, or if I forgot somebody?
Well, I think the 2 guys I want to talk about are Nikita Grebenkin and Oliver Bonk.
Okay.
Grebenkin, I think, is like he has a shot. I don't think he is above Bump in the pecking order. That said, Grebenkin can play a fourth line role, and I don't think they're going to want Bump making the team to be a fourth line winger, even if he's getting power play time. Grebenkin could make it. He played in the NHL last year briefly for Toronto. He impressed in the AHL for the Phantoms, even if the points weren't there. They liked what they saw. I just don't think they're looking at him as a guy who like has to be on the team, who's going to like the first look. But I can very easily see a world where Nikita Grebenkin is on the opening night roster.
I feel like Grebenkin has to take someone's job. Like that's when we talk about banging the door down, like we so often do with these prospects, he's a guy who, oh man, you know what? Bump was pretty good, but Grebenkin was even better. He's a little bit more ready.
Yeah.
And so why, like, it not even like Bump underwhelmed. It's that he was pretty good, and then Grebenkin was just more polished, whatever, just looked more ready to play that role in the NHL than Bump. Something like that, I think, is how Grebenkin makes the team, actually outperforming somebody head to head.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then with Oliver Bonk, like, there was a really good interview that the Inquirer's Jackie Spiegel did with Riley Armstrong, the director of player development. And while Armstrong very much left the door open for guys like Bump and Luchanko and even Grebenkin to make the team, he spoke about Bonk as if he's going to have to work on his pace in the AHL. Now, I'm not saying that he can't blow the doors off in camp and change everybody's mind. If he's suddenly playing faster and, scores a bunch of points on breakouts, with stretch passes and winning battles along the boards and behind the net, and it's like, oh man, we need this guy on our team. Like there is a spot there, especially if, as expected, Rasmus Line isn't ready for the start of the season. They're both ready shots. But it's clear that Armstrong, and by proxy, I suspect the entire Flyers front office, is going into this camp expecting that Bonk is going to start the season with the Phantoms, and that's where he will begin the process of learning the pro game.
Now, we're both under the impression like Barkey's going to take some time just because dude has to bulk up.
Absolutely.
But I feel like now I've heard you and I have mentioned it. Armstrong said it. I feel like someone else in the organization, when talking about both the London guys, they've made note to be like, yeah, man, they played on a super team. Like they didn't have to play at pace because like the only dude that could pressure Oliver Bonk was his own winger. Like the only they were the ones who were applying the pressure. They could slow it down and kind of play it almost like a power play pace when they wanted to. And that's not what the NHL is. Like the NHL is a north-south game, and you make quick decisions and you get hit when you have the puck. And that's just something they're probably both going to have to adapt to. So as fun as like I would love to see Oliver Bonk just come out and kill it, it feels like everybody is setting the expectations for him and Barkey. Listen, even if it's half a season, we got to make sure they can do the things that they didn't have to do in the OHL.
Yeah, I think for Bonk specifically,
Bonk more than like,
but like for him specifically, last camp and last preseason, it seemed like it was an eye opener for the organization about what he still needs to do. Because there was talk, I remember this vividly. There was talk in August of last year, July of last year, that like, don't like rule out the possibility of Oliver Bonk sticking around. That we might not send him back to London. Torts really likes him, and our defense ain't that great. We might keep Oliver Bonk. And within a couple weeks of camp, it was abundantly clear that they were not keeping Oliver Bonk. And the big thing I heard when I talked to people in the organization was pace. It was he doesn't make plays fast enough. And I think that was a little bit of an eye opener for the front office as a whole. Not saying that they have gotten lower on Oliver Bonk. They still really like his upside. I think they believe he can be a first pair defenseman. I'm not quite there, but I think they believe it. I think it showed them that maybe they should take a take a chill pill a little bit. Just take a step back and be like, maybe he's not quite as close as we were starting to convince ourselves he could be. And I feel like based on the comments that Riley Armstrong made to Jackie last week, or whether it was earlier this week or last week, not sure, it was recently, it seems like that perception holds within the organization, that pace is his big thing, and that's probably best served addressing at the AHL level rather than like presenting him as one of the favorites to make the big club out of camp just because Rasmus Ristolainen is hurt.
But with that potential Ristolainen injury, there is space on the blue line. Now maybe it's like Zamula and then we have a 7, one of the free agent signings. Okay, that's a possibility. But Grans and Andre are there as well. Now Grans, the more, I guess, physical comparable. He doesn't play as physical a game as Risto does, but he is 6'3", 205. He is right-handed. Do you think Grans can make this team, especially given it's a new staff? They might be looking for something a little more or something a little different than the previous staff was looking for.
I absolutely believe Grans can make this team. Now, I don't think it's a lock. They obviously signed Gilbert. They signed Noah Juleson.
Yeah.
So they don't have to put a young guy in that open spot if Ristolainen is, as expected, not ready for the start of the year. But they like Grans. They like Grans a lot. They were very, very happy with his development this past year. We had Maddie on earlier in the show. She told me regularly that Grans was one of the biggest pleasant surprises for her watching the Phantoms on a daily basis, that he's gotten a lot better, that he's just a more assertive player. He's doing more things with the puck. And I think the Flyers have noticed. So I think Grans is very much in the mix. Now, he's not nearly as physical as Ristolainen, as you noted, but the size is there. I think he could make the team. And there is an element where you have Andre, who has probably shown more at the NHL level than Grans, but he's so small. And they have Drysdale, they have York. Grans, he might not be the most physical guy, but he is big. And they might look at it, if it comes down to Grans or Andre, that they just feel more comfortable with Grans in that lineup, replacing especially somebody like Risto, the biggest guy on the defense, as opposed to replacing him with a 5'8", 5'9" guy.
Yeah, and there's also the right-handed factor that always weighs in, especially like on the blue line. There's only so many right-handed defensemen. Like, I do think Grans has a better chance than maybe the casual observer would guess to make this team.
I agree.
Especially given the Risto injury and a new staff with new eyes who might just value him a little more than was previous. And while I loved Emil Andre's first stint prior to that injury, when he came back up, he didn't kill it. And I don't think he was like amazing in the Calder Cup playoffs either. He was fine, but I don't know if it was like the season prior when, oh yeah, by the time playoffs rolled around, he was our best defenseman by far. I don't remember hearing that this season.
Yeah, I agree. I think Andre's in a tough spot because he did not impress them in the AHL playoffs. And obviously he didn't have the greatest return to the NHL. He didn't reach the heights that he reached in that first call-up, or I guess the first substantial call-up, because he did go up and down a little bit in the beginning of the year. The first time he got a long look, he was very impressive. Then Torts soured on him, got sent down. When he got called back, wasn't the same guy. So yeah, I think he could certainly make the team too. He's in the mix.
Oh, yes.
But he needs to have a really good camp.
I don't think like halfway through last season, in my head, it was like, oh yeah, Andre's in, and I have him penciled in the top 4. And right now I'm like, yeah, he can make it, but he has to impress.
Yeah.
This is he needs to win a job, sort of, or at least like fend off other people rather than, oh yeah, pencil him in. I want to do one more before we get out of here, Chuck. It's the let's do Samu Tuomaala real quick, and then I think we only have 2 super chats. I don't think Samu Tuomaala can make this team unless there's like 6 injuries, but he can improve his standing, right? Like, it just feels like he has got bumped down further and further on the organizational depth chart. But again, new staff, new eyes, maybe he can impress. I
think he's in a position where he needs to have a big camp to basically make sure he's going to have a future in the organization. Now, I don't agree with this. I like Samu Tuomaala. I think he brings a lot of interesting skills to the table. I'm just going by what I've heard and reading the tea leaves. They weren't really happy with Samu Tuomaala last year. And he is in the last year of his contract. There's a world where if he doesn't have a big camp, if he doesn't take a measurable step in his all-around game at the AHL level this year, where they wave goodbye to him the same way they waved goodbye to Elliot Desnoyers this past offseason. And there was a time where Elliot Desnoyers looked like he was going to be a 4th liner for years to come. Tuomaala, this is a big year for him in terms of staying in the Flyers mix long-term. And look, he's a good enough player where he could have a Bobby Brink-esque training camp, and he could end up being in the dark horse. He did it 2 years ago. 2 years ago, he put himself in the mix at camp, where he came out of nowhere and impressed the heck out of John Tortorella. It was like, oh man, this Tuomaala guy, he's legit. He could do that again. Now, I'm not necessarily expecting him to, but he could. So you can't rule him out entirely as like a dark horse to make the team. But on the flip side, you can't rule out that this time next year, he's not even going to be in the organization.
All right. So I think those are the guys with the biggest chance to impress or win a job or show us a little something in the preseason. Eagles preseason tonight. Can't believe it's already here.
Heyo.
Know what else I can't believe is here? Overtime.
Overtime.
This show just flies by. Go to allphly.com if you're part of the TV audience. And I think we have a couple of super chats before we get out of here. So, Tyler, if you would be so kind. First one here from Brendan Cole 3. What's more likely? Bonk ends up being Prime Lidstrom or Charlie sports a handlebar stash?
Well, one thing is actually theoretically possible. So let's say Bonk being Lidstrom.
I don't think that's theoretically. You could grow a mustache.
I could, but I won't.
No one could be Prime Nick Lidstrom.
Hey, he's going to be a professional hockey player. I am not growing a handlebar.
God damn it, Charlie. All right. This next one here, let's see. For Danny Briere era, has the cap stopped them from doing moves?
I mean, it stops everybody from doing whatever moves they want. It's a restriction. That said, the Flyers have purposely restricted themselves.
Yes.
Under Danny Briere, they have taken on contracts that have made their cap situation tougher in order to stockpile assets. So if Danny Briere won it, like, there was nothing that said he had to trade Ivan Provorov in a deal to maximize the return and take on the Cal Peterson deal.
Yes.
There was nothing saying he had to retain salary. There was nothing saying that, you know, he had to buy guys out, but he did because he's looking towards the future.
Yeah, and then, like, he's been very willing to retain salary, like you said, take on bad contract. Like, all these things kind of add up to, well, since we're not spending the money on anything anyway, we might as well do it to improve our future standing. And that has led them to this situation where they and the Florida Panthers basically have the same salary cap situation, which is insane. Agreed. But I think we've noted the differences a little bit here. I think that might have been all the super chats. So I think so. That is it. Yeah. That is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers today. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. If you haven't already, you got to hit that subscribe button. Follow us right here on YouTube. Make sure you never miss a live show. Set that reminder bell so you get notifications and all that. Follow us on all the socials. We're at PHLY_Flyers on Twitter. And follow the podcast. Wherever you get those, just search PHLY Flyers. All right, my name is Bill Matz. That is Charlie O'Connor. He'll see you again in about a month. I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, be excellent to each other.
We all silly like the mayor.